On the line now, State MP for Lara, John Eren. Good morning.
Good morning, Mitchell. Good morning to your listeners.
Thanks for being on the program. Well, it's been a pretty tough time just in terms of the commentary around the state government. So the question is, why should we continue to have faith in your ability to manage COVID and even hope that we can actually get through this?
Well, obviously, this is unprecedented times, Mitchell, and I don't think any other government have experienced what we're going through at the moment, and it's a learning curve for many. And clearly, we are in the business of listening to the professional advice that is provided to us by both Federal's Chief Health Officer and our State Chief Health Officer, and we'll continue to do that. I don't think anybody's qualified in the area of this type of situation that we find ourselves in, other than those professionals that are giving us appropriate advice. And as a government, we will continue on with protecting our communities to the best of our abilities that we can. And to that end, obviously, there are concerns about the numbers, and we've had a second wave, and that was always on the cards. And I think the messaging around this has to be, until such time as there is a vaccine for this hideous disease, we need to be COVID safe, and we need to adjust our behaviour, our culture in terms of how we deal with this situation. And as we can see overseas, and we're nowhere near those levels of numbers that overseas countries are experiencing, Mitchell. And I've got to say, I'm continue to be proud of how we've conducted ourselves in relation to dealing with this issue. And when you look at, cases of over 200,000 continuing in America, you wonder, what have they done wrong? And there are so many examples of what not to do across the globe, and hopefully we're learning from it. I know it's a cultural change. I know it is tough, but we need to do what we need to do, and obviously we're doing not that bad in regions, and it's sad to see that we've gone to 11 cases in Geelong, and we've had the largest spike. And these numbers obviously are as of Saturday for yesterday, and the Premier will stand up today at some point to give today's numbers from yesterday. So there are 11 cases in Geelong, which there's a spike of some 5 cases that were from Saturday that were detected. So that is a bit of a concern, and there's talk about Drysdale School and Grovedale West School that are potentially now not opening because of potential cases that might be there. So this is a concern. This is we've got to be diligent. We've got to be united. We can't have different voices saying different things. And yes, whilst I agree, life goes on, and there are other complications that arise out of life. But this is something that is something that we're grappling with, which is unprecedented, and potentially, tens of thousands of lives could be lost. And when you look at the numbers of lives being lost overseas and the combined world rate of numbers that lives have been lost, it's devastating, and devastating for those families. There are 38 people that have died from coronavirus in Victoria. And in the last few days, 3 of them were people in their 90s, and it's a sad situation. And like somebody put it, some people are saying this virus only kills 2% of the people that contract the virus. Well, if I were to put 100 jelly beans in a jar, including 2 poisonous ones, and present it to you and say, "Do you want one?" Would you like one? Because it's Russian roulette. You don't know if you contract the disease whether you're going to die, and this is the point that I think that needs to be got across. That if you get it, it doesn't mean, regardless of your age, potentially it's Russian roulette. You could potentially die from it, and so we will continue to do whatever we need to do as a state government, and along the way, if there are some hiccups and issues that we need to pick up on, we certainly will, and we need to make sure that we are on top of this issue as best as we can. So, as I've indicated, if you like, I can go through the numbers, and there are some changes that's coming to the Metro Melbourne and the Mitchell Shire. in relation to wearing masks. And
well, should the people in Geelong wear masks because it's not mandatory?
It's not mandatory, but look, I went shopping yesterday and I had a mask on, and I would say I was one of few. And shopping gets busy, and it's not possible to socially distance yourself from the person you're shopping next to of 1.5 meters. And is it really worth the risk? It's not that hard to do. Yes, it may look silly, or you may think you look silly, but or it may be a little bit uncomfortable, but is it worth contracting the disease? So I just think it's not compulsory here. It will be compulsory as of midnight Wednesday in Melbourne and Mitchell Shire, but in Geelong, the cases are going up. So you don't know who you're standing next to. You don't know who's got it. Just to be a little added insurance to protecting yourself. Apart from hygiene and apart from keeping your distance, wearing the mask is clearly something that's going to prevent this disease from spreading. And why wouldn't you do it? And I just think, for those that argue it's my right not to wear it, well, we're not America. This is not a Trump issue. We're a lot more sensible here. I think people can make up their own minds about whether they should and they shouldn't wear their mask. And I truly believe, as I've indicated, this is a cultural change. This is nothing new in some of the nations across the globe that have issues with not only pollution but protecting themselves from various viruses. They do wear masks on a regular basis, but we don't, and we're not used to it. And it's strange to us wearing a bandana type of mask around your face. It's not our culture, and I get it. But if we want to protect ourselves, protect our loved ones, it's not that hard to do. And we should be able to be mature enough to make those decisions ourselves. And I would just urge, though it's not compulsory here, the numbers have gone up, which is a bit of a worry. In Geelong, we don't want to be in the lockdown position of Melbourne and Mitchell Shire, and if we don't want to get to that point, we've got to make sure that our numbers don't spike.
In terms of compliance, are we having challenges with compliance? Is fatigue kicking in around restrictions? Because you do see in the news people gathering, people bored of walking around Brighton, so they go and walk on the tan track, for example. Is that a risk going forward that we'll struggle to enforce all of these restrictions?
Look, you'll always get the few cases. There's always people out there that have this conspiracy theory issue where they don't believe it's real, they don't believe, that this is all made up, or that they really don't take it seriously. They believe it's real, but they feel that it's not something that affects them or would have an impact on them, and that is unfortunate. But having said that, the police are out and about, and clearly if people are breaching those, we've still got our own restrictions here, social distancing, not having more than 5 people attend your home, all of those things still apply here. So there are things, and we shouldn't be complacent, and really, is it really worth it? And so we need to be mindful that, yes, there are some people out there that will inherently want to breach the rules and break the law, and whether it's intentional or unintentional, the police will be out there. And we've had people from Melbourne wanting to come here to either go to their holiday homes or whatever. We've stopped that, and obviously there's a huge concentration of police that are checking people's licences in terms of, do they have legitimate business coming to Geelong? Is it for work purposes? I mean, there are only 3 reasons why they could. And if they're not, then they're turned back. And clearly we've got to continue to do that. But having said that, if you're a Geelong person and you want to, within the boundaries and rules and regulations of, COVID, being COVID safe, there, if you wanted to go down the Great Otway, to have a weekend away just to support the tourism industry, with your family, and you're COVID safe and COVID conscious, there's no reason why you can't do that. And so I just think that there is balance and there is understanding of what we need to do to contain this issue, and then there is those people that are blatantly breaching the rules and regulations and the law, knowing that they're doing that, and there'll be consequences for that. And can I just also say, for example, there are doctors that are in GP surgeries around Geelong that don't live in Geelong, and so there are instances where childcare workers, for example, that we drop off our kids so we can go to work, that actually live in Geelong, because it's not because of the population base, it's not sustainable to have all of these places, whether it's GP practices or childcare centres or schools or indeed nurses that come and protect us, to be all from Geelong. So there are instances, obviously, where people are coming from outside of Geelong for these essential services that are provided to keep our lifestyles going, and we've got to be understanding of that as well.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for being on the program. Thanks for giving us an update on where things are at, and we'll hopefully talk to you again very soon. There's always lots of things to talk about with this virus.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Thank you very much. John Eren there, the State MP for Lara.